Howdy folks, I'm Daniel, also known as Theophage on YouTube. This is my closing statement to the debate. I want to thank, again, Gary for having this debate with me. I want to thank all the people who have watched it so far. Hopefully we'll get more people to watch this because I think the ideas in here are interesting ones. Whether you agree with my side or Gary's side or neither, I still think these ideas are interesting. Okay, I believe I've made my case that God is impossible, and of course Gary believes that I didn't, and it's okay if we disagree. The important thing is that we put our ideas together for everyone else to see and for them to be able to judge themselves. I think I won, but hey, that's up to you, the viewer. Going over my points again. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and concede point 1 to Gary. Even though it was a good point that I made, he is right. This debate is not about whether Plantinga's ontological argument is valid or is sound or not. So even if my first point busts that argument, it still doesn't prove the thesis of this argument that the idea of God is incoherent. But I still think that it's important points that I made. In fact, one interesting point that I hadn't thought about it when I first came up with this point is, suppose that it is actually physically impossible for a mind to exist without a physical part in this actual world. That would still mean that God exists in some possible world, and by Plantinga's argument, if God necessarily exists in some possible world, then he must therefore exist in all possible worlds, including this actual world. And that sets up kind of a weird state. God must exist in this actual world, and yet it is impossible for him to exist in this actual world. How does that work? I don't know, but it's those kinds of strange ideas, I think, that are the benefit of debates like this, that it brings up things that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise thought of. On to my second point, the idea of an omniscient mind. I believe I gave my case for that well enough. I could have done better. I could have stressed the various things that minds do better. For Gary, all that's required for a mind is to be a mental substance. But how do we know that God has a mental substance? Isn't that just assumed? If what God has doesn't act like a mind, how can we call it a mind? I think that is a valid point. That you can't be a mind that doesn't act like a mind. And so, therefore, he wouldn't have a mental substance. On to my point 3 about the timelessness of God. Again, I think I made a good case. Gary's case is kind of strange. God wills things to happen without changing an internal state. He doesn't actually do anything. It's like everything he has and has ever willed is in the initial, single, only, timeless state of God. But how does that make anything happen? How does will alone make something happen? It would seem to go back to, well, God is magic, and just because he wills it, it happens. I don't know. But I think my case there was important. A timeless thing can't do anything. Physical things can affect physical things, but timeless entities can't be involved in causal reactions. For my point 4, the justice and mercy thing, again, that one, I'm sure I am the clear winner on that. There's just no escaping that. God has to have committed an injustice in order for salvation, as the Christians say it, to work anyway. But even if we don't consider that Christian idea, justice and mercy, you can't have perfect justice and mercy. That you just can't. I think that was a slam dunk. And then going on to my 5th point about the hypostatic union. Again, I think I made my case for that very well. You simply can't be God and not God. You simply can't be man and not man. Gary spoke of 2 different natures, and the 2 different natures don't conflict. Well, what if I have a square circle? It has a square nature and it has a circle nature. So what if the circle nature is not square? And so what if the square nature is not circle? If it has 2 different natures, it doesn't matter. They don't conflict, right? I don't think that Gary's illustrated the fact that they were sub-contraries well enough. I think he could have done a better job than that, and maybe he would have got the point. As it is, I don't think he won that point. I'm pretty sure I got it. Overall, again, debates like this, it probably won't change anyone's mind, but at least it gives us something interesting to think about, and I think that is good enough. And I'm glad I had this debate with Gary, and I'm willing to do it again with him on a different topic or with anyone else, as long as we treat each other fairly and, respectfully. Thank you.